This week's episode of Gundam Build Fighters Try appealed to my love of the classic Gundam OVA series, Mobile Suit Gundam, the 8th MS Team. I love this Gundam anime. It might be my favorite Gundam of all time, and that's really a hard thing to do, choosing your favorite Gundam anime, because they're always expanding on the series, releasing new spin-offs, continuing the story of the original timeline, that you never know what's gonna come next. But every single time I'm talking about Gundam or discussing it with somebody, it always comes back to this series right here. And for one simple reason, this is a quality anime. It's a short and sweet 12 episodes, the characters have a ton of development and interactions, the mobile suit battles are gritty and realistic, but what I think I love most about 8th MS Team is that it's probably the most realistic take on the Gundam anime thus far. Instead of these crazy, ridiculous space battles, everything takes place on Earth, in the ground, in a harsh jungle environment. And it involves a lot of guerrilla war tactics. And we see that applied in this week's episode of Gundam Build Fighters Try. And that's because Team Tri-Fighters is going to be going up against Sarin Technical College. And they happen to use a variant on the main mobile suit from this series, the Gundam Easy-8, which in and of itself is like a composite Frankenstein of old Gundam parts put together. And in that series, it was used by the main character of this anime, Shiro Amada. And Shiro might be one of the most interesting main protagonists from any Gundam anime, but what I think I love most about his mobile suit, the Easy-8, is that it's probably the most realistic Gundam that's ever been created. It even lacks the distinctive V-crest, which they actually decide to bring back in this week's episode because Team Sarin actually uses variants on all three, and they all have different abilities, and they make use of guerrilla tactics in their fighting as well, and that is what I loved about this episode. But that's not even the highlight, my friends. The best thing about this week's episode is that we finally get to see the hidden capabilities of Hoshino's winning Gundam. At the very end of this week's episode, they have an intense battle with Team Sarin, and for the most part, the first half of the episode is pretty much just all build-up. And we also have this other brand new story which is starting to blossom, with Sakai basically trying to guilt-trip Yuma into trying joining the Meijin competition again, because he wants to battle him in a building competition. I don't know if they're ever going to get to that, but honestly, I'd like to see it, if only just to see all of the crazy different mobile suits. And you're going to see a lot of extra battles at the beginning before we get to the main one, but when they finally arrive in the jungle setting, it's just perfect, and it evokes the whole 8th MS Team feeling, which I really dig. And when you finally actually get to see Team Seiren's mobile suits, they look awesome. They're so simple and militaristic, but I really love them. And I actually think Team Seiren is hilarious, because they're basically like the stereotypical Gundam scientists hiding in the shadows that we see in all the old classic Gundam anime, and now this is like the real-world portrayal of them in a Gunpla battle. But their actual mobile suits themselves, like I said, they're all variants on the Easy-8. They all have different names. I believe they're the Intruder, the Shadow Eliminator, and the other one escapes my mind. But they all have some really cool moves, and they make use of their camouflage and fighting in the jungle. They jam communications with all the other team members, and they're able to communicate through this weird wire system. They have cluster missiles, they have beam rifles. They are awesome. Even one of them has this weird backpack that is known as a Plasticraft, which allows them to fly. But, as we know, this is Gundam Build Fighters, so the main characters are going to have to come out on top. And it actually happened in a way that I didn't expect. I'm actually really glad that it's because of Hoshino that they won, because with Sekai basically being the default main character, I didn't want every episode to just end with him doing the big punch, and that's how it's gonna go. But it was a really nice surprise when one member of Seiren was getting ready to shoot down the winning Gundam, when it suddenly separated into multiple pieces. And in the intro of the show, we do get to see that the build-burning Gundam is going to have this hand attachment, but I never knew where it came from. It's actually from the body of the winning Gundam. The pieces that come apart from that can actually attach to both the Lightning Gundam and the build-burning Gundam, augmenting their abilities and making them even more powerful. So the build-burning Gundam has an even bigger badass punch, and the Lightning Gundam has this even bigger sniper rifle. It's really awesome, and that's probably just the beginning of what the winning Gundam can actually do. And the minute I saw this, just the fact that it was awesome got me excited, but like, wow, the model kits are going to be great for these. If you can actually take apart the winning Gundam and attach it to the Build Burning and Lightning, that is just going to be really awesome and is opening up the floodgates for what they can do for the rest of this series. And that's pretty much it, aside from some minor details. If you look at the post-credit scene, there's a brand new character who's introduced who totally gives off the Slegger Law vibe, and that's absolutely hilarious. He's even got the mutton chops. So what's the rundown on this week's episode of Gundam Build Fighters Try? I loved it. I pretty much love every episode of this series. As a huge old-school Gundam fan, they just know how to inject that love into your veins. And, you know, like I said, I love 8th MS Team so much. And it might have a little bit to do with nostalgia. This was the very first Gundam that I ever owned on DVD, but it wasn't the first Gundam I saw. I saw a lot of Gundam before I saw this one, but just something about it just appealed to me a lot. I've watched it so many times I can't even count. I've watched it with friends multiple times. I mean, just, it's such a classic Gundam, and they really brought that feeling into this week's episode. And for people who've been following the series for a long time, they're really going to appreciate that. But it didn't even overshadow the episode. There was a lot of room for lots of little funny moments, like when Mr. Rawl was late and they showed him running across the park. Just, that was really funny and got a huge chuckle out of me. But then, of course, there was all the action and the fan service. Even Gyanko this week was awesome. She had this really great battle before the main battle of this week's episode, where she actually used her shields to repeatedly bash this mobile suit and crush it. It was just really awesome. But really, it was all about that final battle this week and seeing winning Gundam just transform into brand new weapon parts for both Build Burning and for Lightning. Just, I really dug that a lot. And I'm really liking the whole team dynamic of the series, because that's really what's separating it from the first season. Because Season 1, it was all one-on-one, now it's 3-on-3, so that really just mixes things up and just gives us a lot of possibilities for what's going to happen later. And we're still really early in on this series, so there's so much more room for development. I still want to see the eventual debut of Domo and Kashu. I want to see when Sei and Reiji are going to come back. And of course, there's just all these new characters. Every single time I watch the intro, there's something new. And make sure to pay attention to the intro this week. They do make some minor changes, some of which are really hard to miss, but it's nice attention to detail. When they show Fumina Hoshino, and they show her mobile suit behind her. In the previous episodes, it was her gym cardigan. This week, it's actually the winning Gundam. It looks awesome, and it just makes you get even more excited for the rest of it. So I guess they figured, well, we already spoiled it enough at the end of the intro, we might as well just go ahead and put it in now, especially because you're never going to see the gym cardigan again. Or will we? I don't know. The winning Gundam is pretty awesome, and I just love how they're able to make it into something really creative. It truly is the ultimate support mobile suit. So this was a really good episode of Gundam Build Fighters Try. The animation was pretty good. The artwork was okay for the most parts. There were times where it could have been a little more detailed, but this was still a very exciting episode of the series with lots of funny moments, action, twists and turns, and fans of old school Gundam anime should definitely check it out and not write this series off as just a kiddie show. It's just good, old-fashioned anime fun, and you should check it out. Thank you guys for watching my review. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. Before you guys leave, please tell me what you thought about this week's episode of Gundam Build Fighters Try. Did you have a favorite mobile suit that appeared this week? Did you have a favorite battle moment? What do you want to see from the rest of this epic anime series? Before you guys leave, please subscribe to our channel if you have not already. You can do that by clicking on the channel icon right up here. You guys can also follow us on Facebook and on Twitter.